Taylor Swift mother dropped a surprise double album. How have you been feeling about it?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Completely overwhelmed.
That covers it.
I will say, for anybody who already says they have a favorite song, you're wrong. Not true.
No.
An album of this magnitude and size, you gotta let it sit.
Yes.
This is gonna take a while to really hone in on the full intricacies and depth of this album.
For sure.
So with that in mind, like, this is just our initial reactions because it's still very new.
For anyone listening that doesn't listen to Taylor Swift or fully understand, like my mom, she's probably listening, but I thought, who could say it better than Rolling Stone itself? And I thought they really did say it well. With the Tortured Poet Department combines the intimacy of Folklore and Evermore with the synth pop gloss of Midnights to create music that's wildly ambitious and glamorously chaotic. And they said it might be Taylor Swift's most personal album yet, which I
agree with
fully agree with. I don't think we've ever seen such overt metaphors, references, name-dropping conversations she's had with Jack. It's everything.
We should talk about just the sheer magnitude of this album and Taylor Swift in general. We'll let the numbers do the talking. She sold 1.4 million copies in the first day.
In a time where no one
I'm like, who's buying them? I downloaded it on Spotify. Yeah. People are still spending money to the point where 1.4 million copies were sold.
People have been criticizing her, of course, for the sustainability impacts or whatever. And it's like,
we've got bigger fish to fry. When we talk sustainability, I can go on all day about fast fashion and the actual impacts that it's having on our earth. Yeah. The records and the CDs were fine because those people are not throwing out these records. They're collector's items.
Yeah, they're it
is sustainable because it's not like we're like throwing them in the trash. Yeah. Please.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Yeah. So Spotify came out with some stats of the 10 biggest first day album debuts on Spotify. So they went through and listed the top 10. Taylor Swift took up the top 3 spots on this list. So number 1 was the Tortured Poets Department with 313 million streams in their first day. 313 million. The number 2 spot was Midnights with 186 million. So it almost doubled.
Wow.
And then number 3 was 1989, Taylor's version with 176. The numbers speak for themselves.
Wow. We are watching history. We've grown up with her, our sentimental attachments. Like, we are watching the equivalent of Tom Brady for football, but even more so. Like, legend. No one has done, she's the GOAT. Like, when it comes to producing music that will dominate the charts. There's something to be said for that. I think the album was kind of threefold. It was Joe Alwyn, Matty Healy, and I also think this was her album where she really aired her grievances with the wine moms, with the fans, with the people who don't know her yet judge her every move, with the people who call themselves fans, the Vipers in Empaths clothing,
the Hannahs and the Sarahs.
She called out the Karens, gave them a whole new name. Yeah. Like, everything in Reputation with her cancellation, that was very much about Kanye and Kim. This, I think she really processes, like, you guys fucked with my relationship, because I think that's what probably happened.
All these thoughts and
soliloquies I'll never see. Like, I feel like it probably got, just from the songs, that Matty Healy probably had a bigger issue with the public's response. And she said, like, you should have, like, seen the asylum I've been raised in. Like, don't tell me you feel bad. I think that really probably put a wedge in their relationship. That's what the clues are telling me.
I went on the record saying this album was going to be all about Joe. I was completely wrong. I was not prepared at all going into this to find out that the muse of this album and the main focal point was my Matty Healy.
Oh my God, she's making it about herself. She's like, it's my love. It's Matty Healy.
It's not about me, but I just wasn't prepared for it to be about him. He was not on
He
was not in my mind of, this is going to be a Matty Healy album.
Yeah, Matty.
So I was thrilled when it finally started sinking in.
And to recap, we thought this album was going to be the breakup album of her 6-7 year relationship.
But also, stupid us.
Stupid us, yeah.
Because we've been saying this forever. Midnight's was the secret breakup album that we didn't realize was the breakup album, but looking back on it, like, oh, this was actually the Joe breakup album, was Midnight's. So
that's true.
Stupid us for thinking that.
Idiots.
I'm upset at myself for not using my critical thinking there. Like, why would she have two all about Joe? So that was stupid.
To be honest, I thought sometimes, parasocial relationship with Taylor is we were like this, and I was like, I think with the Matty Healy thing, since it was so short-lived, she's gonna be like, I don't even want to give the justice of talking about it. Like, I thought she was going to do that.
I think it's the opposite, where honestly the best revenge was giving Joe a measly, like, yes, one blatant song about him, but then the rest you're kind of like left to wonder, like, could this be about him? This could be about somebody else. So the best revenge was kind of really giving him just like one song and be like, that's it,
like,
I'm
my
done.
Rebound from you broke my heart.
And Matty Healy just gives so much better content for songwriting. Like, we should have known. I think she took a lot of inspiration from this proposed like 2-week stint of just like a super hot and heavy, which that gives you a lot more to write about than a super long drawn out relationship that she was kind of like done with by the end.
But I think that rebound was so hot and heavy with Matty Healy that's why it crushed extra hard.
It was the fact that the rebound was happening and the fact that it sounds like in her head, and for him too, this could have been it.
Yeah, they were in love.
They have been kind of like missing each other the past 10 years because they've each been in different relationships, and now this could have been the time where everything that he was saying to her and promising her could have been it.
Yeah.
So her hopes are very high, and then it stopped after 2 weeks. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck?
And I think
it's very relatable for a lot of girls out there. Like, we've all had that relationship where you're like, this is it, and it's just so fast, and just you get so caught up, and then when it ends you're like, well, shit.
And for sure, like the ones where you get wrapped up in the fantasy, and those infatuation feelings can just crush you. Also, my husband, and when this album came out, he had a great question that I was going to ask you. What makes this album different?
Well, for starters, I think it is a hard album for new Swifties, for people who are like, I want to know what the great thing about being in this world is. I want to get in on it. This is a tough album to do so because it doesn't have a lot of her like synthy poppy songs. There are a couple bops, but not many. It's like a very intricate, nuanced album.
Getting chills. I'm just getting full
And so
chills.
I think it's different in that sense, where she's pulling from literally the vault of her entire life. And so for people who have been with it from the beginning, it's fun to kind of like put together all these like threads and stuff. So I think that's what makes it different.
I mean, people are waiting for her to miss. People are waiting for her to miss because, no one stays on top for this long. But the thing is, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Swiftie, this is why I love her. She is an artist that continuously pushes herself. The way her music has grown and her lyricism has grown.
This album is different because it's not an era.
That's true.
I think Manuscript is the best just way to end the entire album, and the way she pretty much says like, I've gone back and read through my manuscript and now this is yours and it's no longer my story. That I feel like this whole album is just her way of being like, I'm not putting on the era's hat anymore. Like, this is me and this is what I've gone through, and now moving forward it's gonna be like a totally fresh
she didn't follow the pop radio hit formula she always follows, which has always been smart in the past. The Lover album, she came out with Me as a single. Like, she led with these singles and there still was such substance in the album, but she didn't lead with that. She didn't do that.
This is more substance than hits.
She wrote this for her and now she's putting it out. It's like it's such a work of art. When I started listening to it, I was like, no, Meg's gonna, because you're just in general cynical, and I know you'd always back a Swiftie album, but I'm always prepared for you to say, I need a minute. I'm not automatically gonna jump to loving it. Like, let me really process it and form my own opinion. But I was listening to it and I'm like, no, she's gonna love it. She's gonna appreciate it.
I do love it. The first time I listened to it, because I went into it fully thinking like, all right, these are all about Joe. Just thinking of it through that lens. And then when I did a re-listen of being like, oh, a Jehovah's Witness suit. This is not Joe. Oh my God.
Oh my.
And then I had to completely rewire the way that I listened to the songs of being like, this is not all about Joe.
Yeah.
I got to open up my mind here because this is something totally new.
Did you know that like anonymous sources say that Matty Healy is relieved that there's nothing worse in there and that his family is relieved?
I am thrilled that this is mostly about Matty Healy because I love Matty Healy. I love the 1975. I love him. And I think of all the people for Taylor to write Smallest Man Alive, if she were to write that song about anybody else, they would be in a hole. Just this man is probably loving it.
He's a fellow artist. Like
exactly. I'm sure he gets it. And he's also Matty Healy. He's completely chaotic and controversial and messy. So he probably loves this mess of all the people to be calling him like a drug addict and airing all of this stuff about him, about how he's just a hot mess. It's not going to faze him.
No. And he's probably like, yeah, that is what it was.
Accurate.
Like, that's, she's telling the story how it was.
Do you have a list of some of your top songs?
A list of a few songs.
So Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, I love
that one.
I don't really have any notes on it, but I just love the message.
No, I love the message, and that was so Matty Healy coded. That also weaved a lot of references
I also
to
feel
her
like
toxic fandom. And
like, you put me in this cage, I have been in the circus, and like, of course, what did you expect? You should be afraid of me because look at all the circus animals just walking in circles.
No, that one was so good.
But Daddy, I Love Him.
Okay. This has been my Roman Empire, and Meg, I'm about to blow your mind. I think I have the first original thought ever.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm listening to it. And at first I thought it was a love story all grown up. And then I thought it was like, no, it's about her different love stories with Joe and Matty and then ending with Travis. And then I'm like, no, we're idiots. Daddy is a metaphor for the public. And she's always been this dutiful daughter doing it what the public wants. With Joe Alwyn, she was pleasing everyone. You have to listen to the words. I'm getting full body chills. I work and she's like, but Daddy, I love him. I'm going to have his baby. No, you should see your faces. And at the end, she says, my parents came around because they did with Matty Healy. She probably had to convince her team, like, no, I stand by this person. And she said, but my daddy loves him. Like, I think she's playing with that. And then she says, soon enough, the elders had convened at the city hall. Stay away from her. The saboteurs protested too much. Like, her fandom got together and was like, no, Matty Healy isn't good for him. Look at these videos. Look at this joke he made. And then I'd rather burn my life down than listen to all this bitching and moaning. I don't cater to these vipers dressed in empaths clothing because all of her fans are these empathetic people. And that's, I loved it. And then all these people performing sanctimonious soliloquies she'll never see. Like, I'm telling you, listen to it again. And that's the only thing that consistently tracks throughout. I can see that. And if you listen to it, like, that captured when we were watching her on stage saying, I love you, mouth the words, I love you to Matty Healy, like, the world stopped. It was this all-consuming love. She was running across the stage in her dress, remember? And he was in the crowd, and she references that.
That just gave me chills.
Like, that was such a moment, and it was real. Just because it was short doesn't mean it wasn't so real. So
but it wasn't short. That's what it is. Like, this was not a short.
The build up and Guilty as Sin. She talks about that as the closing of her relationship with Joe Alwyn, or just at the end when it wasn't out yet.
That's who she went to.
About him.
Yeah.
So Long London was everything we could wish for in a track 5. It was heart wrenching. It had some of the best lyrics I think she's ever had.
Oh wow, that's a big statement.
Well, it's hard to choose.
I think it was the perfect summation of the relationship. She put it all out there of, I gave everything for this relationship. I would have gone down with the ship. I was prepared to literally put my life on the line. He wasn't giving me anything. And in the end, she wishes him well. She's like, you're going to find somebody. Yeah. And I think that was just like the perfect way to truly put a stamp on that relationship and be like, this is my final say.
I think what I mean is, not some of her best lyricism. We thought this whole album was going to be about Joe. That song was so much she packed into it about Joe. And it was a really, I don't know, it just was like really touching. It's a good one. And then the references, I'm finally getting color back in my face, referencing You're Losing Me. Like,
when she went gray.
Yeah, it's the weaving of references to her past songs that she is just making this like collective work. It's not about a singular song for her. And this is how she processes emotions, and you see that. It's like a really beautiful thing to see someone like process their emotions in such an artistic way. I don't know. I think it's so cool. And Peter, I thought...
Oh, I love Peter. I think that's a beautiful song.
I love that. And at Swiftie and Toki on Instagram broke it down in a really good way, saying Peter is a metaphor for Joe, referencing Cardigan when Peter's losing Wendy, because in Peter Pan, like, it took place in London, and Wendy had to leave London because she ultimately couldn't keep staying with Peter because he didn't want to grow up. He was resistant to growing up. Down Bad, I love, really related to Now I'm Down Bad crying at the gym. As a gym rat myself.
I love the Tortured Poets Department.
Oh,
I think that's a good title track. She said in there, you left your typewriter at my apartment. And remember back when all those pictures were taken of Matty and Taylor in New York City during her Eras tour?
Yeah.
And he was photographed walking into her apartment with that Louis Vuitton bag. And everyone was like, it looks so empty. Like, what's in there? And in my mind, I was saying, like, it's a keyboard. It's a keyboard. They're making music together. That's the typewriter that he was carrying into her apartment.
We've had 2 original thoughts here today.
I don't know if that was original, but okay, well, definitely I was like, that it wasn't a keyboard that I thought. It was the typewriter. He was taking a typewriter into her apartment.
Oh my gosh.
This one's definitely a ton of Matty references. Tattooed golden retriever. But you told Lucy, blah, blah, blah. And I had said to Jack, and Lucy from Boy Genius, who they're friends with, and Jack, obviously. So that connection was there.
That was just her telling us about a conversation with Jack.
Yes.
That she would die if he left. Like,
you told Lucy that you also felt this way, and I told Jack, and I felt validated by it. And
did you see the music video for Fortnite?
Oh.
When they're in fetal position.
I could go on all day about the music video of Fortnite because there are so many comparisons to 1975 and parallels. Because, well, first of all, black and white. 1975 always films their music videos in black and white. Yes, where Posty and her are laying side by side is very similar to Matty with his
wax figure.
Wax figure, yes.
Yeah. That's what he did in his tour.
There is the lab coats. All of when they're on tour, they all wear lab coats. He wears one, his band wears one. There's a scene where she's in the insane asylum and she's literally standing in a box, and the box is the 1975. Like the 1975, like that box is synonymous with that band, and they're always putting themselves in this box in all of their music videos on tour in there, and she literally puts herself in the 1975 box. There's a lot of parallels in that music video and in the song itself. A fortnight is quite literally 2 weeks.
2 weeks, a British slang term for 2 weeks.
I took the miracle move on drug. Like, he was the move on drug for her from the relationship with Joe.
Wait, funny.
The thanks were temporary.
Funny line about that. I really misinterpret lyrics unless I'm reading them.
Okay.
So I kept jamming to this, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I took the miracle move on drug. The affects her temporarily.
Oh, that affects her temporarily?
No. You misunderstand. Affects her. It's a drug. Oh. And I take that drug. So I'm like, we are literally taking the same drug. Nope. And then it said the
effects were temporary.
Okay. Yes. Not naming a pharmaceutical drug. Okay. No. Don't know why I went there.
Love of my life. Oh, that is a tearjerker.
I know. I think I need time to appreciate. I didn't
take many notes on it, but that's just one that I just listen to and enjoy because it's beautiful.
I need a second to
heartbreaking.
Appreciate it the way I listen to albums. I explain this to you as I go through it. We have
very different listening styles.
Yeah.
I think I realized.
I chunk it. I take a chunk and then I listen and I just like really connect to those songs. And then I start
You're much more structured in your listening style.
I just can only take so much.
I do once through, complete from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And then after that, I pop it on shuffle and I just go on and listen to them as they come up.
You're such a shuffle girl. I need to have a queue. I need the songs to be where I'm at.
No, I let it shuffle. This isn't like one of my top songs, but I feel like we need to talk about Florida.
Yes.
Florida's really good. I feel like nobody's ever going to be able to say Florida. You have to say it like that.
On Sabbath, we're going to Florida.
Yeah. Destin is really getting its moment in the spotlight right now.
I know.
I mean, good for them.
Good for them.
But specifically the Florida to Texas connection, because Texas is referenced a lot and Florida is referenced a lot throughout the album.
Explain the Texas reference to me.
It's the connection between the two cities of her tour date from Florida to Texas. So when she was in Florida, that was Tampa, April 13th, which was when the announcement of her and Joe's breakup took place.
Yes.
And then from that point to Texas, Houston was like, there was like a 2-week time span. And so that's when they're saying that her and Matty kind of like started up this 2-week fortnight whirlwind relationship. So that's why there's a lot of references to like the highway in Texas, Florida. But then I heard a take on Florida, the song in general, and how Florida could potentially be a synonym for Matty Healy. Like ran to Matty Healy. Matty Healy was where she went to after this relationship. And like that is where she
Because that's probably when, if you think about it, they probably decided to release the news of the breakup.
Yes.
Because the thing with her and Matty were starting and they didn't want any confusion. So Florida was when that was released and then she got together with Matty. And Meg, I just realized we've witnessed history. We were in Philadelphia.
We were at the show where he came on stage and performed.
For the first time.
I have video footage.
Or maybe it was the second time, but
The first time. It was the first time because he performed with Phoebe Bridgers during the opening, and we were. I remember it clear as day.
I remember too
because we were in line to get drinks before she came on. Phoebe Bridgers started playing.
We're like, is that him?
Yeah. And I was like, oh my god. So you stayed in line. I left, and lo and behold, it was Matty Healy playing the guitar, and I was freaking out, and everybody else around me was like, ugh. It's Matty Healy. Can you believe it? Can you believe he's here? And some people didn't know who he was.
Oh my God.
And I hear this one girl explaining like, apparently like him and Taylor have this thing. He's in a band. I'm like, this is Matty Healy.
Oh my gosh.
He's here. And that was when they truly went public. We were part of history. We saw her in the midst of this.
We saw the muse.
In the midst of this whirlwind relationship romance, and I feel real
there,
lucky.
It was red. We were there.
Faster than the wind. So passionate. The Black Dog, I love.
Who was at the Black Dog? So I'm just getting to that part of I'm not as deep into those songs yet. So I've only listened to them a few times through because I'm still like in the first half.
The Black Dog is a bar in London.
Okay.
I've also seen comparison that Matty Healy is the Black Dog. Like a black dog, I think in some places represents like depression and just kind of a not great omen.
Okay.
So I don't know which camp I'm in right now co-signing, but it's definitely about Matty Healy.
I took it very literally that she still had the location of someone in there at the Black Dog. Like, because that's what one of the lines says is like, I still had your location.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like her finding out that he is dating somebody else or he's kind of moving on. And she's figuring this out of like, well, you're dating a younger girl, which he was.
Yeah.
He's dated somebody who was like 10 years younger than him. She says, in the Black Dog, when someone plays the starting line, which I didn't realize the starting line was a band until I saw the lyrics written out, and you jump up, but she's too young to know this song. She also references how that was such a part of their relationship. So I researched that a little bit more. Matty Healy covered a starting line song on May 3rd while he was on tour, and that was the same show where he mouthed this song's about you. You know who you are, I love you, during the starting line song that he was covering. And then 2 weeks later she did the same thing during her show.
She keeps referencing the Blue Nile. That's 80s UK cult band the Blue Nile. She references the Blue Nile like 2 times in the album. At the end of Guilty as Sin, she references Downtown Lights. And it was the same thing. When I was reading the lyrics, I saw that it was capitalized. And I'm like, oh, that must be like a song or a book. And that was one of the Blue Nile songs. And it was a song that Matty Healy basically rewrote for the 1975 in the version of the song Love If We Made It. Like, she just does so many explicit mentions to Matty Healy's work and life. It's so crazy. Oh my gosh, I'm worried for Travis. Is he okay? I feel like he's probably like not.
No, he's not all there.
I hope
it's not sinking
in. I hope
in.
he's done on the internet.
He's just listening to So High School like, yes, about me, man.
So about me. We were watching American Pie.
Yeah, we'll just let him enjoy it. Baby's first song.
Baby's first song.
We kind of like breezed over it, but like Travis got 2 songs.
He did.
Which was surprising.
I know. And the alchemy was about Travis. When everyone, I mean, I fully thought it was like the fake, science.
Because I remember you saying that. And so I had to go back and look up alchemy to be like, how is she drawing this connection? But alchemy is also just taking regular materials and making it into gold. And so she's saying this relationship is something that turned into gold. Like, this is not like it was fake.
No, I was just watching a TikTok that was distorting the definition to fit their agenda. And then I'm
sense.
like, it fits. No, she got 2 songs, So High School. Have you seen all the memes of like Travis Kelce listening to So High School and he's like this? And there's a little part when like all of his friends are around and they're trying to stay quiet and she's trying to stifle her sighs.
Yeah,
I'm like,
spicy.
What did Andrea think of that one? What did Papa Swift think of that one?
So spicy.
So perfect.
But she also references, Are You Going to Marry, Kiss, or Kill Me? And did you see the interview that he did like years ago where a reporter was interviewing him and they said like Taylor Swift, Vanessa Hudgens, and somebody else, marry, kiss, or kill? And he's like, I don't want to kill any of them. And he said, I would kiss Taylor. And so she like referenced that.
Oh my gosh,
so long ago.
I didn't realize that. I know what the interview you're talking about.
And in the song she says, are you gonna marry, kiss, or kill me? And then she also has another line where she says like, you know what you wanted and boy you got it. Like he knew he wanted her, he got her.
She definitely made the song was like damage control. Like, okay, babe, put your headphones in.
Focus on this one.
Keep playing that song, okay?
These 2, repeat.
Don't listen to what everyone's saying about the love of my life that broke my heart, smallest man that ever lived.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can make an album more emotionally charged than this one. So I hope I don't think Travis necessarily needs the deep metaphors per se.
No.
He just needs a little bopper, shake it off. Like,
she uses big words. I think some words that might just go right over his head, which is probably for the best.
I think she doesn't need the tortured
sanctimonious.
Poet.
He's probably like sanctimonious.
He's totally so out of his league.
Fine.
It's okay, but she doesn't need the torture poet. She had that. She needs the football star. She just needs to rock the stage in her head. I'll never forget when that took over the media and I'm like, ooh, Taylor Swift doesn't want you. Oh, no, she does. Okay, we're on board.
Go for it. The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, I think, is probably more scathing than Dear John, All Too Well.
Oh, they should be counting their lucky stars.
Ever could be. Like, this song is vicious in an amazing way, but she did not hold back or stutter at all. This was the song that I was listening to at first. I think I texted it in our group where I was like, oh no, Joe better watch out, thinking that it was about Joe. But then when I re-listened to it, that's when she says, in your Jehovah's Witness suit. That is Matty Healy. Yeah. She also says, rusting my sparkling summer, because it wasn't sexy once it wasn't forbidden. I think referencing like they were kind of like hiding the relationship, but it wasn't as fun once it was out in the open, and he was kind of like, well, this isn't
I wonder if they were together longer and the fortnight is just referring to the public.
Yeah. I think they could have had a little tryst here and there when she was maybe at the end of her relationship. Who knows?
And Matty Healy's like, oh, I got off easy. After The Smallest Man Ever Lived comes out.
When I heard the Jehovah's Witness suit line, I was like, this is not Joe.
I meant to look into that because I didn't understand the reference.
It's the end of This is sometimes an ill-fitting suit.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the end of this song. I think she references stage lights came down, but you were still performing. Like, she references like a performer. So I'm like,
and she always says, tell your joke. I don't know what songs. Like, she references making a joke. And I feel like that's referencing Matty Healy's jokes that cause a lot of controversy. That he's just like, they're just jokes.
In I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can, she says, the smoke cloud billows out of his mouth. The jokes he told across the bar were revolting and far too loud. That is, because he says so many controversial things where you're like, ugh.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Amy.
I was not picking up on the capitalization at all. I thought it was thank you, Almay.
It was just confusing.
Like, who's Almy? I don't know who that is. And then I realized it's a capital I. But again, some people have been scoffing at the fact that she's not over this yet. I can't believe she's still writing about this from so long ago. Like, can you believe a 34-year-old woman is still I think we need to normalize holding a grudge and having an enemy.
That's what I said. I'm like, one thing about our girl Taylor is she doesn't forgive and forget, and she does hold grudges. Like, she doesn't even have to forgive. She doesn't, these people.
She does forgive, though. At the end of the song, she thanks her.
Yeah.
So
I think she thanks her because she's like, I've grown from it. And this is what I always go to. We don't know everything.
No.
There may have been there probably were lawyers involved because she was recorded without her consent, or I know that was floating around, and the Kardashian lawyers. It's the
also edited.
There was probably nasty back and forth, and that intricacies of that drama that we don't know and don't understand the nastiness of. Clearly, it was bad, and she's allowed to have that experience and write about it in her music. Like, should the fans be going after Kim? No. Should they go after Joe? No. This is art. She's allowed to process her art.
It's not our fight to fight.
It's not our fight to fight. And that's when the toxic fandom comes in. She is allowed. And honestly, the song is saying, thank you for helping me learn and grow. Like, so she's processing that in her own time. Let her do her thing. I love it. Yeah.
I love it. Holding on to a grudge.
Normalize having an enemy.
Yeah. It's cool. I love the line about Andrea.
Oh, Andrea.
She's a saintly woman, but she wished you were dead.
Dead. I see us in this album where she like has some harsh words for people, and she has some strong emotions because she stands for something, and she stands by her convictions. So when someone does her wrong, it's not just doing me wrong. It's like so against her convictions, and that's why she keeps the people who are in her life close to prove themselves. She keeps them, and I admire that. That's very. Is she she's not a Capricorn, but
she's not.
She really is. You and her have that in common for sure. Yeah.
Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
But once you're out,
like no, you never. No second chances. Yeah. You're the smallest man
ever lived.
You've ever lived.
I'm curious what your thoughts are as far as Jack Antonoff as her co-writers, producers. A lot of people have been saying that they're kind of hoping that on her next album she kind of tries a new producer out because they feel like Jack Antonoff is kind of getting tired of like the same sound. Like, he has a very distinct sound and production style with all of her songs, and so some people have been kind of scoffing at like, ugh, we're over Jack. She needs a new producer to kind of like give her a new spice. So I'm curious what you think.
I mean, I'm the wrong person to ask because I can listen to the same song so many times and love it. You know, she probably loves working with Jack. Besides the fact that he makes good music, he's a close friend, and she needs to stay true to herself always. So I think having that balance, but I think she has shown us that she can continuously grow and push herself and work with new producers, that I think she will when she's ready. And I think pressure from the public, if we're learning anything from this album,
not gonna
one, she's not listening, and two, if she catches wind, she doesn't appreciate it.
Like, that's what I think is funny of people being like, you need to drop Jack Antonoff. They are best friends. Yeah. If you know anything about Taylor Swift, she is a loyal friend, and she's not going to drop Jack just because you're tired of hearing his synth on some of her songs. And
I love it, so I'm fine.
Jack Antonoff is not going anywhere.
Happy wife, happy life, happy Taylor, happy life. Yes. Like, she needs to be happy with her people surrounding her.
They clearly have an amazing working relationship between the three of them. Yeah. Clearly they're doing something right with 313 million streams. Yeah. So
if people say we're hearing the same thing from Taylor, that's just because of the pure quantity she's releasing. Where any singular artist, you're going to have overlap. I think last I checked it was like 200 plus. She probably has like 300 plus songs. There's going to be similarities. She does have a style, but she varies within that style. She's continuously grown with her lyrics and her metaphors. Let's just let her do her thing. Yes. You know?
It's clearly working.
It's clearly working. I think this album, more than any other album, I've been so intrigued in applying it to her day-to-day life, and the fact that she's been on this Eras tour never breaks. I mean, of course she gets emotional during some songs, but we always thought it was about Joe, and it was always like appropriate timing within the performance. Like, the fact that she is a human being that goes home, that works out, that has these relationship woes, that has these,
is literally miserable some days and depressed. And she's still,
and when she said, I'm a functioning alcoholic, like, we all know that Taylor Swift loves wine and like martinis. She was probably self-medicating. Like, the fact that we got those intimate details into her life, I just like can't stop analyzing them. And it's going to take a long time. Like, Taylor, take a seat for like 5 years. Cause
we need some time with this one, please.
How is she going to perform this one?
I don't think
this is a performance.
No.
Yeah.
I think aside from
I Can Do It With a Broken Heart.
Yes. Yeah. That's going to be the like bop. Because I saw somebody make a TikTok about this is going to be awful for the Eras tour. Like, how does she perform this album in the Eras? I'm like, whoa. out, buddy. She's not going to. I think
it's a separate tour.
This is not one of her eras, though. I think she's made that clear.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is an album that she takes on tour. I will say some of we're speculating out the wazoo right now, but some of the speculation that I've seen on TikTok is quite the reach.
I know. It's just like...
And I think we kind of briefly touched on this of how social media has kind of changed, at least for me, how I digest and process an album. Because I probably wouldn't have had as much of these thoughts
and takeaways.
I would probably still just be like blissfully listening, enjoying right now. But the other day my brain was so overloaded with all of the different speculations that I was seeing and theories on TikTok and Instagram, where I was like, I can't take in anymore because I want to have my own thoughts because it's all affecting me. And it's the whole confirmation bias of once you hear one thing, you are only going to kind of gauge what you're thinking based off of that one thought. And you're going to refuse to see other things outside of that doesn't support whatever you want to believe. And so it's hard for me to like remove those other things to create it's giving me a bias.
Confirmation bias. Yes. Yeah. It's like this double-edged sword of social media that you have all these just like sleuths putting things together, but I just remain really selfish with the way I process albums, or Taylor Swift specifically, is that it comes out and if I see something, I'll save it and then refer back to it later. But I like to listen and have it be a relaxing experience, not me trying to like cross-reference. And of course I did, and there were moments where I'm like, okay, I'm getting overstimulated, I need to stop. But it's just like, what were people doing back in the day when the Beatles come out? They're just head bobbing. It's so different now.
Somebody had a theory that Kim was the red herring of Thank You, Amy, and it was actually about Dumois instead of Kim, which I don't co-sign because there's no, like, the Dumois thing happened so recently for her to have written a song. But then she goes on to like explain her theory and her proof. She takes like one line out of the song and she's like, see, if you take this letter, this letter, this letter, it spells I hate you.
I can't.
You could literally do that for any sentence.
Everyone missed. She kept going like this. It's like her signs are usually semi-obvious, like they're big ones.
Did you see it wasn't even her though? There's Post Malone also is photographed doing it at an award show, and Florence.
Stop.
From Florence and the Machine.
We missed that. We've really missed that.
Like one. A lot of her people were also.
Yeah, at the Grammy, she's like, she
one
knows
of my
something we don't.
personal favorites was that the entire album is actually not about Maddie and Joe and her exes.
Oh,
it's about Harry Potter. Every song is relating to a character of Harry Potter, and she will go on a 16-part story and to tell you why.
Now that reminds me of a different side of TikTok where people are reality shifting, where they're just saying, I want to be in Star Trek, and then they go in Star Trek. That's what that is. That's not based in reality.
But again, confirmation, like if you want to think that this is about Harry Potter, I'm sure we could listen to the album and be like, oh, okay, this could be
Professor
about
Dumbledore.
This could be about Snape,
like, smallest man who's ever lived.
Of course, anybody, you can create a narrative for anything that you want to believe. You're only going to see the clues and the signs that point to that one narrative.
So true.
So I mean, we all do it.
Last thing to end on a little bit of levity. Bustle, whose social media account has been killing it, by the way. Bustle released this meme, and it was like decoding, I should have it written down, but decoding Taylor Swift's new album is like being an FBI who just worked an overnight shift, like blah, 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 full-time mom, like long thing, full-time job. She liked it and then unliked it, and everyone's like, she's such a millennial, because it's a carousel post, and as you're scrolling, there's one that's like Joe Alwyn with like the worst eye bag photo ever.
She's like, ooh, yikes. So it was like, take that back.
No. Tree Pain was probably like, Taylor, nope, give me your account information back, no more. And like everyone was like, did Taylor just like this?
1000%.
She did it. No, it was a carousel post. Oh, she's a millennial.
Sometimes it gets you.
Wow, this has really just done something for my soul. This is probably cathartic. This really was cathartic. Well, it's been a blast.
We've got our like second mini part of non-Taylor Swift related news for the week. That'll come out after.
Just all your Coachella fashion takeaways.
Yes.
Jackson Brittany, just the important hard news.
This is important hard news.
Oh no, this is, but this is a lecture. This is a experience, if you will.
Our TED Talk.
This is educational. If you just want the hard news, not going in too deep. Next part.
Yep.
Great. Thanks for listening.